Hello everybody. In this video, I'm going to speak about the Redux and usage of Redux in the React projects. And all of the codes of this video is created and they are available inside of my GitHub repository. You can see the link of the GitHub page inside of this slide. And also my LinkedIn page is here. You can connect with me. I really appreciate that. And let's see what we are going to see in this tutorial. We are going to see what is Redux and what is action, what is an action structure that can be a type or a payload, and what is an action creator, what is reducer, what is dispatch, and we see what is the Redux Store and Redux Provider, and also Redux Middleware. And also we can see how we can configure and use the Redux in our React projects, and also add the Redux DevTools and Redux Logger, Redux Thunk, and Redux Saga to it. Let's see a real world example and then we can speak about the Redux. But before that, let me show you this example. Let's assume that we have 4 different police officers and these officers need to share their data with each others, and this data can be consist of, for example, criminal data and hospital data, functionalities, and anything they want, and they want everything to share with each others. But can they locally save this data with them? Of course no. We need to have this data in common and share with the other police officers. So what is the solution for this? In this example, a police station can be a good example, and all of our data will be stored in our police stations. And how they communicate with the police station? Of course, they dispatch. The police officers dispatch police station with some different type of code, some data, some type, name of the suspect, and considering the situation, they can say, for example, let's say they have a homicide or anything they want, they can share their data with the police station using a dispatch. And this is what exactly is going to be in our Redux tutorial, and we can see that this is really a good example, because let's say that we have this police station and this cop needs to have the interaction with the police station. How we can do this? This is exactly the procedure which will be happen, and you can see that if we assume the police station name is a store and our police officer is a UI, they communicate through a dispatch. You can see that we have an event handler, and here we dispatch some action with let's say the type and the payload or any data we want. The most common standard way of sending a dispatch is using an object which is consists of type and payload, but you can use any name you want. This is just an best practice. You can see that we have an store. Inside of a store we have a reducer and a state, and everything will be handled inside of a store, which is like our police station. We don't care what is happening inside of a store. We just dispatch what we want, then we can receive what we want, or sometimes we don't want to receive anything. We just need to dispatch and say, for example, something happened, or do something, but we are not interested in the result. We just dispatch and that's it. And if we want to get anything from our police stations, we can use the state of our police stations and ask the state, for example, give us the folder of any suspect we want. This is exactly what is happening, and you can see that this is really beautifully showing us what is going on inside of a Redux lifecycle. And this was a real world example, but in this tutorial we create 3 different projects. And in the first project we see the basic functionality of Redux, like actions and reducers, store, providers, and logger, and also Redux DevTools. Then for the Redux Thunk, we create a new project, and in fact we copy the first project because the boilerplate is ready. Then we implemented Redux Thunk middleware into it, and we see, in fact, the Redux Thunk is something easy and it is not that complicated. And we implement the async functionalities using Redux Thunk middleware. And also for the Redux Saga, we create a new project, and in fact we copy the Redux Thunk project and we change the Thunk middleware to Saga middleware to show you that what is the functionality of Redux Saga. And you can see that in this tutorial. And let's continue and go to our tutorial. But before that, this is the URL of the GitHub repository of this tutorial. All of codes are uploaded on my GitHub repository. You can see that. Don't forget to give a star to this repository if you think this is good. And before starting our tutorial, let's just take a look at our codes and then continue. So this is the GitHub repository of this video. All of the codes that you will see are uploaded inside of this repository and you can use it. You can see there are some definition and it will be updated, but we have 3 different projects that you will see next to this tutorial, and all of the codes are here, all the basic, the Thunk and the Saga, and you can use these codes. And I hope this tutorial helps you. So let's continue and implement our coding. I create a new project inside of my drive F. So I say cmd to open a new command prompt in this drive. And I say npx create React app and the name for my project, for example, project 1 Redux basic. And let's press enter and wait for this command to install our project. And that's it. So let's close this command and open my project with VS Code. And this is my new project. I open a new terminal and here I start my project using npm start. And this is it. This is my project. So let's do some cleanup. I delete some of the files we don't need for this tutorial. For example, setup test, report web vital, logo.svg, app.css, and app.test.js. So now I have just index.js, index.css, and app.js. And I change these to app.jsx and I delete everything here. Then I create a new functional component. For installing a new component, you can simply write it down or you can use some extensions. For example, I press, let me show you here. I have ES7 Plus snippet. Let me show you. I'm using this ES7 Plus React Redux React Native snippets, and you can install this and using the command, for example, RAFCE, you can see that it creates a new component for us, or let's say RSC, it creates a new component, a functional, and RCC will create a new class component for us. So that's it. I say RAFCE. This will create a new component for us, a functional component. This is inside of app.js. And inside of index.css, I delete everything and I say a star, or let's say body, it's better for some CSS reset, padding of 0, margin of 0, and box sizing of border box. Also for font family, I use Arial, and that's it. So this is the index.css, and let's go to the index.js and delete these lines and these lines, and also delete this line. Let's format document. That's so good. So for the formatting, I am also using Prettier. Let me show you inside of these extensions. This is Prettier code formatter, and you can simply use this code formatter. This is a standard way of formatting your code. So now we have done a little cleanup. Let's check it again inside of index.js. This is my code, and inside of index.css we changed it a little, and inside of app.jsx we cleaned everything. Let's check in our browser. Okay, now you can see that everything is okay. Let's check in console. We don't have any error. That's good. So now I have a clean React project and I want to implement Redux. But before it, because this is a tutorial and we want to see what is exactly the Redux, first we create our functionality with local states and then we refactor it to using Redux. So let's do this. I create a new folder named components, and inside the components I simply create a counter counter.jsx. So I want to create a new component named counter.jsx. And I say RAFCE to create a new component. That's good. And inside of this counter, I want to, let's delete this. And here I use an H1 and I say counter value is, it's going to have some values, and let's create some buttons for demonstrating our business logic. So the first one would be decrease, and the next would be reset, and the next button would be increase. So let's format our document, and in order to show this we need to import it inside of app.jsx. So inside of app I delete this, and here I import my counter. You can see that it suggests to me, but if you are not if you are not seeing this, it's not a problem. You can simply import the counter from dot slash components slash counter. You can see that you can also use this importing. So I say this component should be shown, and format document. Let's check. Okay. Now you can see that I have this counter value is and three buttons. They are not working, and now we want to create a state for them. So let's go to the counter and create it. First thing is we need to use a state. So I delete this React and simply I import use a state from React, and I say const value and set value is use a state of let's start with 0 or any number you want, or let's say for example 9. I start with 9. So this is the state of us, and I assume that you are familiar with a state. So let's show the value here. That's it. And let's format document. So now we have 9, and now we need the functionality for these 3. So let's create some functions for them and use that function. So the first thing is a new arrow function, const increase is an arrow function, and in it we say that set value of value plus 1. That's it. And let's create const reset, again an arrow function, and here we say that set value to the initial state was 9, so we reset it to 9, or let's start with 0, it is much more better. And the next thing is const decrease equals to an arrow function, and here we set value to value minus 1. That's it. And increase. Okay, now in the buttons I use onClick, and I say for decrease I say onClick. You need to invoke the decrease, and here onClick you need to use the reset function, and for increase we say that onClick you need to use the increase. Okay, let's format document. Now we have a simple functionality. We have a value and 3 functions, and by clicking each button we invoke one of these functions. Let's check it here. So let's refresh. I say decrease. Okay, let's refresh. The increase will increase our value. The decrease will decrease it, and also the reset will reset it to 0. You can see that I have a typo here. So increase, decrease, and reset. That's good. So you can see that this is working completely correct, and it is okay. And this is what we know as a local state. But when we want to change it to a global state, we need to use some global state management systems like Context API or Redux Toolkit, React Query, or anything else. So now let's go to the Redux part, and now I want to implement Redux in our project. The first thing is we need to use some, let me show you here in readme.md. I delete everything and I say that this is a Redux basic project. So we say that what we need to have some action or action names. Also, we need some action creators. We need a reducer for our global state, and also we need to handle the store. Then we create a provider with store. After that, we can use Redux hooks to work with Redux. That's it. So this is the steps we can use. And before that, we need to install packages. And we need Redux. And also we need React Redux to work with it. So that's it. Now we are going to exactly do these steps. Let's do this. Let's open our terminal and stop by Ctrl C. I stop this terminal. Let's say CLS to clear my screen. That's good. So let's say npm I Redux and React Redux. I need these two packages to be used in my project. After that, it is installing now. After that, we need to create a new folder inside of SRC. So I create a new folder. I name it Redux. I saw in some tutorials that also you can use a Redux without foldering, but this is not a good idea. I highly recommend using good folder structures. It is really helps you to maintain your project much more easier. So that's it. Inside of Redux, I want to have some files and folders. The first thing is we need to have a file named store.js. This would be our store. And also, I want to have, let me show you again here, I want to have actions and reducers, but because in the future I may have a lot of actions and reducers, for each one I will create a new folder. For example, now I want to work on my counter. Okay, so I create a new folder named counter and I put everything related to the counter into this counter folder. That's it. So let's create a new file named counter actions.js, and also let's create a new file named counter reducer.js. That's it. So let's go to the readme again. So I created this file, and also I created this file, and I created this store file. That's so good. Let's work on them. The first thing is we need to use my action names. Let's copy this from here and put it as a comment here. So I want to have some actions. What actions do we need? Let's go to the counter. So we have three different actions here: increase, reset, and decrease. So we need to use these in counter actions. Let's create them first. Because this must be some strings, it's better to create them here and then use them everywhere we want in order to avoid some typing errors. So let's create them. I say export const. I have increase equals to increase. This is the one of the standards to create our action names. So in future, you can simply use this increase variables and you don't have any typing problems and errors. That's good. So the next thing is let's copy paste this, and also I want to have a reset. That's it. Let's copy paste again, and I want to have decrease. And this is it. So we created three different action names. Now we want to create some action creators, and we know that in actions we return an object which can have a type and a payload if we need. This is the type of our action. So let's do them. The first thing is we need to have an export in const of, let's say, what is the name of this action creator? Increase counter is an arrow function. It doesn't have any input, and because we are using export, we can simply use it everywhere we want. And because I really want to show you that what is the structure, first I create my 3 action creators, then we will implement them. Let's copy this 2 times. That's good. Okay, the first thing is increase counter. The next thing is reset counter. Then last thing is decrease counter. So these are my action creators. These are the action creator functions. That's it. So what we need to do, it is really so simple. We just need to return an object. So let's create it. I say const the action object is an object, and in this object we say your type is the increase. So you return an object with type of this increase. That's good. And let's return this action object. That's it. Let's format document. Okay. Now you can see that this is one of my action creators, and that's it. We simply create a new object and return it. That's so good. Also in reset counter, we say const action object is an object with type of reset. That's it. And we return this action object. And for the decrease, you must know that what it is. So we create a new object. We say const action object equals to an object with type of decrease. And we return the action object. That's it. So you can simply return this object, but I wanted to create this as an variable to show you that what is it exactly. That's so good. So this is 3 action creator functions that we created here, and we created these action names and we created these action creators inside of this file. You can see all of them. The next thing is we need to have a reducer, and the reducer is a place that we handle our state changing. So let's do this. And in counter reducer, I create it. The first thing is we need have an initial state values. So first we create it, then we need to have the reducer. So that's it. So let's create it. I say const initial state is, I create an object for my initial state, and inside of it I say I have a count of, let's say, 0, and this is my initial state. So after this, I want to create my reducer. Let me show you how cool it is. It is really so simple. So I say const counter reducer equals to an arrow function, and we export default this counter reducer. This is the structure of it. And inside of counter reducer, we have 2 inputs. The first one is the state, and the next one is the action. And the initial value of state must be here as a default. So we say your default value is this initial state, then we can continue. So this is the action, and here let me show you that in actions, inside of counter actions. So in any object of the action, we have a type, and sometimes we have some payloads. And you can see that this type can be increased or reset or decreased. So when we are receiving this inside of reducer, this action may have some type and some payload. So I simply say that const of something equals to action, and I destructure the type from this action. Let's format document. Okay, now you can see that I have the type, and this type is destructure from actions, and I can create a switch on it. So based on this type, we need to do some different things. Let's create a switch. We say that I assume that you are familiar with switch case structure. This is so easy, and in switch we check something and handle it. So we say that switch on this type, and on different cases we need to do different things. For example, for the case of let me show you here, these are the three types that we have. So we can, because we created them and export them, we can import them everywhere and use them. That's so good. So let's import them first. So I import something from dot slash counter actions, and I want to import increase and reset and decrease. That's so good. So here inside of switch, the first thing is increase. So I say that if your case was increase, okay, this is the problem case of, in case of increase, we can use these curly braces, but because I want to return, I can avoid them. So I say that you need to return an object, and in this object you can simply say that your count is the state that count plus 1. Let's format our document. Okay, this is the increase case, and let's do this, and then we add another things, and we need to have a default value. So for the default, we can simply return initial state. Let's format document. It is better to always use this default, because if you have any unknown types as an input, it will do this default value. That's so good. And in default, we return this initial state, which is this 0. So let's initialize this increase, and then we implement the next things. So let's go here. Now you can see that my increase is completed, and it will return a new object which has the count of state.count plus 1. And now we created our reducer. The next thing is we need to use a store. So let's create our stores. And in a store, I simply import something from the Redux. Note that this is the Redux, and it is not React Redux. So from Redux, we need to import create a store. And you can see that it has a line on it, and if I put my mouse on it, you can see that it says @ deprecated. We recommend using the configure store method of Redux.js toolkit. And because when let me show you inside of package.json, when I'm trying to create this video for you, the React is version 18.2 and the Redux is version 4.2.1. And this is because nowadays no one uses the Redux core in new projects, and it is better to use Redux toolkit, but it is really vital for us to learn Redux because we have a lot of legacy projects, and also the basics of Redux are always be used in your interview questions. So it is really important to be aware with the Redux core itself. This is why I'm recording this video, and you can see that it is working, but it just have a line through it to show you that it is deprecated, but it is not a problem for us. And also you can see that it says if you want to use create a store without this visual deprecation warning, use the legacy create a store like this. Let me show you. Copy. Now you can see that we don't have any warning or any graphic problems, but it is not a problem for us, and we continue using create a store. I just wanted to show you that what is the this line on this create a store. So this is the first thing. And then we need to create an store. Const store is using this create a store and export default store. That's it. And this is the basic structure of our store. And inside of create a store, we can pass reducers to it. So let's import my reducer. So import counter reducer. You can see that it is recognized automatically, and if it is not, you can simply say import counter reducer from /counter/counter reducer, and here we can simply use this counter reducer and let's format document. This is the basic structure of my store, and now we can use it. Let's see the next step. After a store, we need to handle my provider with a store. Let's do this. So inside of index.js, you need to import something from Redux. And this is a pro. Let's do this like way. Pro. This provider is coming. You can see that I have both React and both React Redux. After importing this, we need to use a store. So let's import my store from Redux Store. Now we have the provider and the store. And the next part is we need to delete this React strict mode. I don't need it anymore. And I simply can use this provider and I say your store is this store that we imported. That's it. Let's format our document. And this is the structure we want. We need to have, you can see that it is really not that hard. It is just a provider with a store props, and we pass this store from our Redux store. This is the store that we created. And this is the next config we needed. Let's see here. What is the next step? So we created everything we wanted. Then we need to use Redux hooks to work with my Redux. This is the interesting part. Let's close everything and go to the content component. Now, here we want to work with it. So let's check if you have any errors. Okay, I need to start my project again. Let's terminal npm start. To check we have any error or not. Okay, let's check my console, refresh. Okay, it seems that we do not have any errors. That's good. It is working correctly because it is on this state. This is using this value state, which is local. So in first step, now we want to refactor it. I delete this and also delete this and this and this. Let's delete this because this is not working anymore. Okay, now we need to import something. For example, we need to have something from React Redux. We need to use two different hooks. The first one is use selector and the next is use dispatch. So let's work with them. And let's create a new variable we name const global state. I'm using this name to show you that what is it. Okay, so for accessing to the state of Redux, you can use selector. Let me show you. And inside of use selector, we say that you receive the state and you pass us this state. That's it, so simple. Let's format. Okay, what I have done, I said in my global state is the export of use selector, and in use selector you receive the state and give me that state. So this is my global. Let's log this global state to show you what is it and refresh. Okay, this is the log. You can see that my global state is an object with count of 0. That's so good. And if I go here to show you in content reducer, this is it. So if I change to, for example, let's say 9999, it must be changed. Let's refresh. Okay, now you can see that it is changed. So we have access to that state. That's so good. And because this is an object with count, we can destructure it. So let's do this, and this global state, instead of global state, I destructure it and I say give me the count and log the count for me, refresh. Okay, now you can see that I have access to it. So I can simply use this here again because now I have access to my global state. This is my count. Is it working? Yes. The next thing is we need to work these actions and we need to dispatch these actions. So in order to dispatch them, we can simply use this function. These functions will create our you can see here our actions, and it will return these actions so we can use it. Let's do this. So here we need to import them. So we need to import something from slash. Let's go to the Redux counter and counter actions. From here I have some different actions. For example, the first one is increase counter, and I have reset counter, and also I have decrease counter. Let's format document. That's so good. Now I can dispatch them. For dispatching them, let's delete this. Okay. For dispatching them, this is the solution. We create a new variable named const dispatch equals to use dispatch. That's it. And this use dispatch is coming from React Redux. And then we can dispatch everything we want. For example, for increase, we want to dispatch, dispatch what? In fact, we need to create an object, and in this object, we must say that your type is increase. But because we handle this, you can see that this object will be created from this action here, and it will be returned. So we can simply use this increase counter. And I will do this. So I say that you need to call this function, and the return of this would be dispatched. Let's format document and let's check. Okay, now if I check increase, you can see that it is working. Let's change it to, for example, let's say 5. Okay, refresh. Now we can see that my increase is working correctly, and these two buttons are not working. We will work on them. So increase is working correctly. And now let's continue and let's check the others. So for the reset, we need to, you can simply guess that we need to dispatch the reset counter. And for the decrease, we need to dispatch the decrease counter. That's it. But they are not working right now. Let me show you. They are not working because we don't have the functionality in our reducer, but our increase is working correctly. That's so good. So let's continue and implement the others in our reducer. And let me show you again. We created actions for them, and in reducer we need to handle them. So I have increase counter, reset counter, and decrease counter, and inside of reducer I just handled increase. So let's create them. I say in case of reset, what you need to do, you need to return an object, and in this object the count can be everything, but because I have this initial state, I can in reset simply return this initial state. So let's return initial state in the reset, and also for case of decrease, we can simply return an object, and in this object we can say that your count is state dot count minus 1. Let's format document, and then we had this default. That's so good. Let's check everything, refresh. Okay, increase will increase our value as what we want. Reset will change it to 5, and decrease will decrease it. That's so good. You can see that everything is working. So increase, okay, decrease, okay, and reset. So you can see that everything is working correctly and we do not have any errors. That's so good. So let's check everything again and wrap it up. So what we needed to install some package Redux and Redux Toolkit, React Redux. We created them. Then we need to have some actions, and also we need to have some action creators. We need to have reducer, store, provider, and then we need to use Redux hooks to work with them. And let me copy the names quickly here to have them as document here. So we need to have use selector and use dispatch. And we created all of them. So in Redux, first we created actions. These three was our action names. And then we have some action creator functions. This function needs to return an object. This object will be handled in our reducer. And for example, in the increase counter, we said your type is increase. In reset counter, we said your type is reset, and then decrease. Then we created the reducer. First, we created an initial state for it. Then we said that your reducer receives an state and an action, and then we export default the counter reducer, and we created a switch case. Then we destructured the type from the action, and based on type, we return everything we want. For example, here you can also, let's say that for this is just a sample. You can say that for increase, you need to add it with, for example, let's say 4. So this is the business logic you want. For example, in increase, it will be added 4. Let's refresh and check. So increase is 5, and then it will be 9, 13, 17, 21. And let's say in increase, you need to minus 10. So let's refresh, increase, okay. In decrease, this is 33, 23, 13, and anything you want. Let's check it again. Okay, change to 1. That's so good. Then we created our store, and in this store, because this can be a question for you, import something from Redux, and I will create this as a comment so you can remember that. You can also use this, but I'm not going to use that. So we created a store, and in this store we passed the reducer. Then we exported the store, and inside of index.jsx we created a provider from React Redux, and we passed the store to it. So because everything is inside of app component, we have access to it, and you can see that our program is working correctly, and that's so good. So we created our basic structure of Redux. Next, we have some different packages and middlewares and tools that can help us a lot. Let's check them. The first thing is I want to work with Redux DevTools, and if I open a new tab and I say Redux DevTools, you can see that I have an extension for it and also a GitHub package for it. Let me show you that when you are using Redux, you can have a Redux DevTools. It will really help you to debug and to see the functionality of your Redux. I have the Redux extension here, and it is because I installed it. But let me show you, open Redux DevTools. When you are opening this Redux DevTools tab, you can see that this is the Redux DevTools. So remove, yes. When we want to add this, we can simply use add to Chrome, checking, add, yes, add extension, that's okay for me. It is checking and downloading it. Okay, it is added. You can see that. No, it says remove from Chrome because now we added Redux DevTools, and if you open your, let me show you, if you inspect and open your inspect here, you can see that you have this Redux DevTools, and it is not working correctly. In order to work with it, we need to have some configurations. So let's close this and go to the next, which is Redux.js, Redux DevTools. And here, let's see, okay, it says that this is the tools we want. and there are some sponsors, some backers, development. Okay, in documentation, browser extension installation, and manual integration. Let's open the first link to see what is going us. Okay, it's showing you functionality. That's good. So for the installation, it is okay. We installed it. For the usage with Redux, there are some simple ways of basic store and advanced store setup, and use a package. I want to use this package. It is easier. So I say that this is the package needs to be installed. So it says that to make things easier, there's an npm package to install. So let's copy this line and let's Control C to stop, and I say npm i dash dash save redux devtools slash extension. So it is installing. Then it says that you need to use like it. So create a store, apply middlewares. We didn't cover apply middlewares yet. Then we will see this, but we create a store. Then it says that import compose with devtools from Redux toolkits. Let's Redux devtools extension. Let's copy this line and go to the store. So we need to import compose with devtools. The next thing is it says that in create a store, after using reducer, you can use compose with devtools and pass to it everything you have. So let's do this. And this is my create a store and use, okay, compose with devtools, but I don't have any middlewares right now. It's okay. So to specific options, we don't want to work with options. That's good. Okay, so let's start our project again. npm start. Now inside of my store, I'm saying compose with devtools, which is coming from this package. That's good. Let's check if it is working or not. Okay, inspect, and let's go to the Redux, refresh. Now you can see that it is working, and I have this init. If I click on this init, you can see that this is the time. It says I have initialized. So here you have some action, state, and diff, and trace, and test. I'm not going to cover everything because this can be a little crash course for itself. I just want to show you that in state we have a count with 5. And also we have a chart and a row. In the row you can see that I have this global state. The count is 5. And if I change this, for example, let's go here and I say 999. And here, refresh. Now you can see that it is changing. So we can see the Redux status in every second we want. That's so good. And the beautiful thing is, let me show you here. And if I dispatch something, for example, if I dispatch increase, it will show me that increase is dispatched and the count is now 1000. Let's increase sometimes. Okay, another more. You can see that I can see everything. I have the current value of the state. Let's say reset, decrease, increase, reset, increase. You can see that everything is here. And also you have a lot of options like display. If I play this, you can see here some different things are being dispatched. So that's so good and it can help us a lot. And for example, for increase, you can see that from in my actions, it says that your type is increase. And for example, for decrease, it says that your the action was this, an object with type of decrease. So this is exactly what we had inside of my projects. And now you can see that we can simply have this dev tools and use it. And this is one of the best tools we can use when we are working with Redux. So let's close it. Let's check the console if we have any error. No, we don't have. And now this is working completely fine. And the next thing is we want to see is Redux Logger. Let me show you Redux Logger. Okay, Redux Logger is a package that can log everything you want. And it can be a good tool when you are working with Redux. It's based on your needs and your requirements. You can use the Redux DevTools or Redux Logger or anything you want. So let's check it. The first thing it says you need to install Redux Logger. Let's copy this line. And here, Control C, CLS. And if you're asking why I'm stopping, and because you can see that if I press this button, a new terminal is open and I can install them here. But let's close this, exit. I rather stop my project and start it again, because sometimes when you are bundling, some errors can happen. So this is a better way when you are installing new package to stop your server and then start it again. So I say npmi redux logger. Okay, let's go to the package.json to see if it's installed. Yes, Redux Logger version 3.0.6. It is installed. Let's say npm start again. That's so good. Okay, let's check this again to see how we can use Logger. So it says that you need to import these from Redux, okay, and you need to import Logger from Redux Logger. Let's copy this. You can see that it says Logger with default options. I copy this line and go to the store. So let's import Logger from Redux Logger. Then you can see that it says that in create a store, and after this reducer you need to use apply middleware, because this logger is a middleware. So we need to handle it like this. And let me remind you something. Here you saw that in Redux DevTools extensions, it says that here it says that if you are using apply middlewares, you can use it inside of Compose with DevTools. So here, let me copy and comment this to show you that if you don't using Compose with DevTools, you can delete this and you can use apply middleware. So you can use apply middleware, and here you can use Logger. This is it. But let's copy this. If you are not using the Redux DevTools, you can simply use this. So I will comment this to be here but because I want to use Redux DevTools, I can simply cut this and I say Compose with DevTools, and inside of it I use apply middlewares. Let's format document. That's so good. So you can see that if we are not using Compose with DevTools, we can simply use apply middlewares after my reducers. But because I want to use the DevTools, I need to apply middlewares inside of Compose with DevTools. No, it must work, and let's check it. So let's close this and this. Okay, let's inspect, go to console, refresh. Let's increase. Okay, you can see that something happened. Let's refresh and show you again. Now we have a middleware, which is Redux Logger. A middleware will be between your request and response, and when you increase and you dispatch an action, Redux Logger will work. Let me show you. I press increase. It says that I have an action of increase in this time, and previous state was count of 999. This is the state. My action was this, a type of increase, and the next state is count 1000. You can see that it is logging everything you want, and also my Redux is working because we are using both Redux Logger and Compose with DevTools. That's good. So let me have some comments. One, okay, just DevTools. So if I want to use just DevTools, I can say that I don't need this. This is just for the documentation I'm creating for you. So here, let's use another way of commenting. This is much more better. Okay. So if you want to just use DevTools, you can use create a store of content reducer and Compose with DevTools. This is the first thing. Let's copy that quickly, and let's say just if you want Redux Logger, you can simply use this, and 3 using both DevTools and Redux Logger. So I created all of them. Let's format. So if you want to use just DevTools, you can simply create your store with create a store of reducer and compose with DevTools. If you just want to use Redux Logger, you can use create a store of content reducer and apply middleware of Logger. And if you want to using both DevTools and Redux Logger, you can use content reducer. The first thing is reducer, and then compose with DevTools and pass the middlewares into it. That's it. And now you can see that it is working correctly, and my Logger is working. That's so good. And my Redux DevTools is working correctly. That's so good. And this was the next package we wanted to work with it. So let's see what we can cover else, and let's check it. Increase working, reset, okay, decrease, okay, everything is working correctly. Now let's check some difficult issues, and let me show you that. For example, let's close everything to show you that. For now, inside my store, you can see that for now I just had one counter value, and it is really so simple. It is just tutorial. But what we have if we have another things, and what we want to for now, you can see that it is just adding by one. But what if we want to customize it and send some values to these counters? This time, like the type, we need to pass the payload to them, and this is what I'm going to do now. But I want to show you that it can be really easy. So I create a new value and I show you this concept using this value. So let's go to the components and create a new component name. For example, username.jsx. I want to create a simple component, and inside of this, I say that the username is, let's create it as an h3 or h4. What was in counter? Okay, h1. Let's make it h1, and so you say that your username is something, and then let's create some buttons, and let's say update, and also let's say reset, or let's say clear to be different from our previous example. So let's format my document, and this is a simple component. Let's import it inside of app. So let's create an HR to have a line to be separated, and I import my username component. You can see that it imported automatically. Let's format document. That's good. Now let's check. Okay, refresh. You can see that username is something. That's good. So this time I want to pass some values to my Redux. So for this, I want to have an input. Let's create an input. And the type is, of course, text. That's good. So let's format my document. This time, this is the business logic we want. I want to create some username and pass this into my Redux. And using an update and clear button, I can update it and I can clear it. That's so good. So let's do everything for them. This time, let's go to the Redux and see what we need to do. So now we are creating multiple reducers because we have different states. This is it. Different states. So we want to create some new actions, some new reducer, and a store and provider will be the same, but we can simply update them. That provider would be good, and store we update it. So let's do this. Let's go to the Redux, and this folder was for the counter, and this time I want to create a username folder because folder username, because this is completely different and I want to have everything separated. So like this, you can see that I had actions and a reducer. So let's create username actions.js and also username reducer.js. That's it. So first let's go to the action. Let me remind you that let me copy everything. In fact, I want to just use the comments, but I copy everything to show you. Okay, and that's it. So for the actions, what actions do we have? I say that export const of the first one is update. So I create an update, or it is better to be more readable. So I say update username. This is really better. So let's copy. And also let's copy this, and instead of update username, we say that reset username. So in the counter action, we used increase, reset, and decrease because it was just a simple tutorial. But always remember that create some unique names for your action. It is much more better. For example, increase counter, reset counter, decrease counter is much more better. Now you can see that because I have reset, I use reset username. It is much more better in order to avoid any conflicts or any problems. So this is my action names. That's so good. So this time we need to create our actions, but this time we may have payloads. Let's see this. So export const, and this action creator name would be update username, update username. And this is an arrow function, of course. And also let's create the reset username. So you can see that I have two functions and I exported them. So this time inside of update username, we receive the new username. So let's say that I'm receiving a username from this function, from where it is called. And this time, let's say that const the action object. You can use any name you want, or you can simply, I will show you that, you can simply return like this. You can simply return an object with type and with payload. You can use this, but in my opinion, this is much more readable. So I say const action object equals an object with the type, its type is update username, and this time I say value. So for this value you can use any name you want, but an standard way is using payload name because a lot of developers using this payload, so you can be much more reliable about your code. So you can see that your type is update username and your payload is this username that you passed, and simply return the action object. And because we are using both Redux Logger and Redux DevTools, you can simply see them later. So let's format document. That's so good. This is my update. For reset username, I don't have any inputs. I just want to reset. So I say that const action object equals to an object with type of reset username. That's so good. And we exported them. This is really so good. So let's close them and let's see, do we have any comment here? Okay, we have this comment. So let's copy them. I just want to need this comment. So I paste everything in username reducer. I paste them, I delete this, and I just wanted to use that comment. So we need to have an initial state values, of course. So for the username reducer, I say const initial value or initial state or value and name, it's no matter really. Const initial state is an object, and we say that your username is, for example, let's say default username. This is for my default username. That's it. So let's create our reducer. So username reducer equals an arrow function, and we export default this username reducer, and you know that we have a state and action. We created this in our previous counter reducer. Here you can see that we had action and state. So this state default value would be this initial state. That's it. So let's destructure my actions. So let's const something is action. This time I have both type and payload. So this is the structured value, and let's create a switch. You can see that sometimes you have some code snippets here. So I press this. You can see it create for me. Let me show you again. In VS Code, if I press switch, you can see that we have some code snippets and it creates for us, and we can also use it. So in this switch, we are switching on our types, and in default, we simply return a state. This is the first step, and we delete this break because we are returning, and when we're returning, we don't need breaks. But if you are not returning anything in switch cases, don't remember to use break. So in the first case, what is the first case? Let's import our cases. So import something from my username actions. What actions do we had? We had update username and also reset username. So for the case of update username, what we need to do, we need to return a new object, and in this object we can say that your username is what we are receiving. We are receiving this payload. Let's format document. So this is simply it. In case of update username, we simply return an object, and in this object the username is the payload. From where payload is coming? Payload is coming from here. When we call this update username, we pass the username to it, and it will be our payload. That's it. And also let's create a reset. So in case of reset username, what we need to do, we can simply return our initial state to be resetted. Let's format document, and that's it. So this is my reducer, username reducer. In our switch, first we say that if you have update username in your type, you can return a username, and its value would be the payload. And in reset username, you can simply return initial state. That's it. And you can see here that first we created action named action creators, the reducers. Then it's time to work on stores. Let me show you in store. For now, this is the counter reducer that is working, but this time we want to have some multiple reducers. In this multiple reducer, we need to use a different name of, let me show you here, combine reducers. Okay, these combine reducers will help us to create multiple reducers, and this is it. So let's comment this because I want to create something different. So this is a new version. So we say that using both DevTools and Redux Logger, and also multiple reducers. So in this case, let's change this. Okay, no, it is exactly like the tops. Okay, so now we have 3 comments. I commented the last one because I want to use both DevTools and Redux Logger and also multiple reducer. In this version, we want to have different reducers. Let's import the other reducer. So we import the username reducer from /username reducer, and we need to create a new reducer. So I say you can use a name, for example, root reducer, main reducer, or anything you want. So I create a new reducer. So I say that const root reducer equals to combine reducers, and inside of this we create an object, and this object will be our new state. Let me show you. So let's say that we have counter reducer and username reducers. If we use them, for example, you know that this is an object. In object, we need to have key and value. So counter reducer is my counter reducer and username reducer is username reducer. But I want to use different names to be much more readable. So here I use counter state, and also here I say username state. Let's format document. So this is my root reducer and I can now use it. So let's copy this line from here and I say const store is create a store. Inside of this create a store I use root reducer. Let's format document and check it again. So what we have done, because we want to use multiple reducer, we create a new object using combine reducer, which is coming from my Redux. That's good. So we can use any name you want. For example, I can say it is Muhammad, it is Ali, or it is John, and it is Mari, or any key name you want for your state. But this is a better standard way, counter state and username state. Then we use this reducer inside of my create store, and then everything is the same. Let's format document, that's it. So now I have a new state. Let's go to the components. No, we are done with our Redux. And let's go to my component to username. And in counter, we created them. So you can see that we selected them from my states, and that's it. So let's do this again. So I say that import something from React Redux, and I want to use selector and use dispatch. That's it. So const state equals to use selector of, let's say, give state and return us your state. Let's format document and log this to show you that what is our state. Let's format and check if we have any error. Refresh. Okay, let's go to the console. Refresh. So this is what is logged. So let me show you. This is an object which has a counter state and the username state. And in this counter state, we have count of 999 and username of default username. And if you go to the Redux DevTools, you can exactly see the same. So if I go to the state and I show you here, this is my global state. This is, you can see it is an object and JavaScript object, and inside of it we have a key of counter state, and the counter state is again an object with count of 999 and username state of username of default username. That's it. So now we have all of them here. You can see that it is working correctly, and if I let's delete this and let's dispatch increase to see if it's working or not. No, it is not working. So it says that we have some problems. Let's check it again and then continue our username. So let's check. We say that in here const of count is user selector of state. This was working, but we changed that. Let me show you. This time this state and log state. Okay, you can see that it says count is not defined. That's so good because this count. Okay, refresh. So you can see that this time inside of my state, I have a counter state, then I have count. So I can simply use this counter state name. And here I say that, and if you're asking what is this is a console ninja. Let me show you here. I have some good extensions. This can help you sometimes. You can see that I'm seeing the console log here inside of my VS Code. This is console ninja and you can use it as your extension. Okay, let's continue. So this time inside of counter I say your count must be a state, give the state, and you say that your state dot counter state dot count. Let me show you again here inside of Redux. Refresh. Okay, you can see that this is the state. Inside of state, I have counter state, and inside of it, I have count. So state.counter state.count is this. And if I use this count here, okay, let's refresh. No, it is 999. Increase working, decrease working, reset working. No, this is so good. Let's check logger. Okay, logger is working correctly. Now let's go to the username is. And let's close counter. Now our counter is working correctly. And now it is time to work on this. So this was my state. Now you know that I want to have the username. So this username would be, let's show you from here in order to avoid any mistakes. So inside of a state, I have a user state, okay, state.user state, and inside of it, I have a username. I'm copying to show you that what is the structure. So let's format document and console log state. This time we don't have any state, we don't need it, so we need to use this username here. Let's check. Refresh. Okay, you can see that default username is working. Now I want to send, for example, John Doe to dispatch, and using update, it must be updated. So in order to doing this, we need to access the value of this input. You can use states and controlled, or you can use uncontrolled and using useref. I want to simply use one of the standard ways, which is useref. Let me show you. I'm using import useref from React, and let's say that const input ref is useref. I assume that you are familiar with this. So for this input, I want to access it, so I say that your ref is input ref. You know that, just for a little remembering, the input ref is working as document.query selector of JavaScript for us here. That's so good. So let's create two array functions. Arrow functions. Const, for example, we want to update and we want to clear. So we say that const update is an arrow function, and also we have to use clear or reset or anything you want. So inside of this update, we need to dispatch. So for dispatch, let's create it first. Let's move this up. Okay, and here we say that const dispatch equals to use dispatch. So format, okay. This time we need to have access to the value of my new username. So I say const new username. This is the syntax of calling refs. So we say that input ref dot current dot value, and then we dispatch the function of the action creator. So let's import it here. So let's import the action creators from // redux / username / username actions, and from there we want to import update username and also reset username. No, this is not, this is action name. This is the function update username and reset username. So let's dispatch the update username, and we said that we need to pass the username to it. So let's pass the new username, and this new username would be the payload of our action. And in clear, we can simply dispatch, and we dispatch the reset username. That's it. And now inside of these buttons, let's call them. So on click, we say that you call the update function, which is this. And for clear, we can say that on click, you can use clear. Let's format document and check. Refresh. Okay. Update. Okay. In fact, it's working. Let me refresh, show you that. Let me show you the beautiful thing. So let's go to the Redux, and I want to dispatch this update without anything. You can see I have nothing here. I say update. So let's go to the console and show you. Previous state was this control state of 999 and username state of default username. But in action, we called a payload of empty string and type of update username. So this would be the payload of us, an empty string, then it will update it. And if you check, you can see the username is an empty string. If I say John Doe and update again, let's see the last action. Okay, this time you can see that my payload was John Doe, type was update username, and in next stage update username is done. You can see that it is working correctly. If I say clear, we have a problem. So this time we have a problem because it says that cannot read properties of undefined reading type. So it says that we don't have any type here inside of, let me show you inside of my reducer here. This time we don't have the payload, so this payload is not working correctly. But this is really so easy, we can delete this. Let's check something. Let's using this. No, it is not working. I think it is just for TypeScript. It's not working. So we can simply delete this payload, and here we can say that action dot payload in order to avoid any problem. So let's format document and check it again. Refresh. Okay, pass John Doe, update working and clear. Okay. Again, we have some problems in Redux Logger. Cannot replace of undefined reading type. Okay, we have another problem. What is the problem? It says that cannot replace of. Okay, let's check everything. Inside of my username, I'm dispatching reset username. That's it. And when I'm dispatching username, it will come to actions. Here inside of this reset username, okay, it seems that we are not returning something. You can see that debugging is not that hard. Let's format document. Let's check everything again. Update, clear, okay. Now let's check again because it must be undefined. And let's go to the reducer and change this again. So let's destructure payload again. Okay, format document and check everything again. So something update, okay, clear, okay, that's working. So the problem was this action, we didn't return anything, so that was the problem. So let's check everything and close, refresh. Now you can see that I have two different states. This is one of them, increase, decrease, reset, working correctly. Let's open the Redux DevTools to see this is our updated state here. And then also check, for example, let's say John Doe update. You can see that control state is this. And username is this. Okay, John Doe Junior update. Yes. John Doe Junior. And that's it. So I think it is good. It is enough for this tutorial. So let's check our files from here and let's see what we have done until now. So we created some packages like Redux and React Redux, and then we created some action names, some action creators, and reducers. We created a store, we have provider, and we use Redux hooks, like use selector and use dispatch. And let's go here to our store to check them. So inside of this reducer, we see a lot of objects we had. So finally, we created our root reducer, which was counter state and user name state, and we used the reducers. Then we created our stores. We created a store of root reducer and compose with DevTools. Then we exported the store, and inside of index, we wrapped everything around our app components, so we have access to all of them. And this is it. So let's continue to see what is the next middleware we want to see. But before continuing, let me show you something interesting that can be a bug for our Redux. So inside of counter, we have a counter reducer with this initial state. And inside of username, we have this initial state with this username. And let's check if our program is okay working. Let's refresh. And if I increase it and reset, okay, that's so good. Increase update. Okay, and if I clear, that's working. If I increase and I clear, okay, you can see that they are affecting each others. You saw, for example, if I increase and I clear, this is affecting. What is the problem? This time the problem is, let me close everything and show you. We are using multiple reducers, so we have different states. In this time, we need to be aware of the state changing in different reducers. Let me show you this time inside of my counter reducer. I had this initial state. Okay, so I change this to 0, and when I'm returning something, I have some different state values. So it is better to, in these scenarios, use this state, and let's format document. So when we are using multiple reducers, and also when we have some different key and values inside these objects, we can have some problems. So we must always remember that we return this state, and we spread this state inside of my return, and then we change anything we want. So let's copy this, and for the increase we return the state, and let's change this initial state inside of this reset. So let's say that inside of this reset we can simply return the all of the state, and our count might be 0. This is a format document. This is much more better and standard way. And in decrease, we return the count, but before it, we spread the state here and format document. Now it is much more better. And for the default, we must to return the state, not initial state. So let's return, so format document. And now inside of counter reducer, we changed a lot of things. First, we created this state, and we return this state here, so it will copy all of the state values. And in reset, we return this state and count of 0. And for decrease, also we return this state. And for the default, we can just return the state. That's so good. So let's close this. And inside of username, we have this initial state. It's okay. So when we are returning the update username, we're returning everything. We can simply return all of the state in order to avoid any problems. And we are resetting username, we can simply return this state, and we reset this username to 0. And when we are returning in default values, we return a state. So let's format document and check if it's working or not. And if we don't have, we must not have any errors. So we just changed our reducers and we added this state to them in order to be sure that nothing is false. So increase working, decrease working. This is updating. Okay, let's clear this. It is cleared. That's good. Reset, it is working. Update. Okay, now you can see that on our previous version we had an errors and they were affecting each others, but now let's refresh and check. So if I increase this to 5, oh, that's good. And if I say you're John Doe, so I want to clear and reset them. So if I reset this 9, everything is working and it's not affecting the other. And if I increase it to 5 and 7, and if I update, it is not affecting that. And if I clear, the 7 is persistent, it is not a problem. But when we are clearing everything, it says that it's better to, in fact, you know that our username in our standard value is not default username, it is an empty string because we don't have it. So this is much more standard. And let's check, update, clear, increase, update, reset, okay, clear. That's good, that's so good. And I think that's it. So now we had a problem, and you can see that we used a standard way and we handle any bug we have using this way. What we will do, we will add the current state to our return object, and we just change what we want. And in default we return this state, and also in username reducer we use this initial state, but when we're returning, we return all of the state with what we want to change, and also in default we return the state. So now I think it is good and it is working correctly. So in our first project, we saw the basic functionality of Redux. Let's check it again quickly. Components, docs. Okay, so we created for each state we wanted, we created some actions, some reducer, and a store for them. And then we used the store inside of our index.js and passed the store to the provider. Then we had access to all of them, and inside of, for example, let's say counter, we used the use selector and use dispatch and use all of them, and also we dispatch what we wanted. And they're all working correctly, and you can see that it is working correctly. But in a real world project, you can see that this all was local and we didn't have any interaction with other APIs. But in the real world project, sometimes we need to have interaction with some async functions, like for example set timeout or calling an external API, which is an asynchronous function. And in these scenarios, we cannot use this simple working with this Redux, and we need to have some different middlewares to help us working with asynchronous dispatches. One of the best libraries and middlewares you can use is Redux Thunk, and in this section I'm working to show you that Redux Thunk. We are implementing Redux Thunk, and you can see that it is really so simple. So let's go to the Redux Thunk and Thunk middleware for Redux. It allows writing functions with logic inside that can interact with the Redux Store dispatch and get a state models. So when we are dispatching, let me show you again here inside of, for example, for this, when we are dispatching an action, we simply return an object. But when we are working with an asynchronous function, we can use middlewares and return an asynchronous function instead of this plain object. And we are working to do this in this section. So let's do this, and then you can see that it is really so easy. So in order to do this, this example is by Redux Toolkit, but I'm not using Redux Toolkit. I'm using the simple Redux. So I want to use this. So I install Redux Thunk in my project, but because I want this repository to be a good repository, I separate my project. So let me show you what I'm going to do. Let's open. Let's first close this. Okay, I created this project with Redux Basic and everything is inside of it. Now I want to work with a new middleware, which is Redux Thunk. So I create a new project for it. But because we have all of our logics and all of our scaffolding, so we can simply copy paste this project. So let's copy and paste it here and use the project here. And that's copied. Let's rename it. So I say that this is Redux Thunk. So this is project 2 Redux Thunk. Let's open this with our VS Code. Now we have our new project, and in this project 2 Redux Thunk, that's so good. Let's check our package.json to see what we have. So we previously installed Redux DevTools extension, that's good. And we have React Redux and Redux Logger. That's so good. And let's check our store again. This is our previous store and we are using this. So this is my new project and I have all of the scaffolding inside of it because I'm using my previous project. That's so good. So let's copy this line and I need to install Redux Thunk. So let's open a new terminal. npm install Redux Thunk. And let's go here. Okay, it says that to enable Redux Thunk, we use apply middleware. You are familiar with this. We use this, and it says that constant stories create a store of root reducer and apply middleware of Thunk. You can see that it says you need to use Redux Thunk like this. You import Thunk from Redux Thunk and then use inside of apply middleware. So it is installed. That's good. Let's go to the store, and here let's delete this comment. We don't need it. And after Logger, we import Thunk from Redux Thunk. That's so good. And now let's apply. You can see that I'm using root reducer and compose with DevTools. And inside of compose with DevTools, using apply middleware, the first thing is Logger. Then we use the Thunk middleware. Let's format document. So it says that apply middleware Thunk, that's good. Then it is speaking about configuring your stores and reducer, middlewares, and a lot of things you need to do. And it says that there are, by the way, you can come here and check these documents about how you can write in logic with Thunks, and there are a lot of dispatching Redux actions with timeout, and a lot of basics and problems are solved here, and you can use them. Let's go and create a new sample for Redux Thunk so you can see that how you can use this. So let's say npm start and start our project, and it is working. Let's check if we don't have any error or not. We are using Thunk's middleware. That's so good. It is working correctly. Okay, and console we don't have any error. That's so good. So because I want to use an external API, I use JSON placeholder. Let me show you. This is a test server JSON placeholder, and it is a fake API that helps you. So let's check one of them. For example, let's go to the posts, comments, albums, photos, anything you want. For example, let's go to the posts. You can see that we have a lot of posts here and we can call them with an API. So I want to use this. In order to using this, we also need to use Axios. So let's install it, npm Axios, because I want to use an external API. That's it. So npm start. Now in this section, I installed Axios and Redux Thunk. So that's so good. So let's continue. Let's close this. Now I want to have, let me show you here. I want to have a page for my posts and grab them from this website and show them. So let's create a component for it. So we have counter username. I create posts.jsx RAFCE. You saw that I'm using, just for quick remember, ES7 plus. I'm using this ES7 plus snippet, ES7 plus snippets. Okay, so I can create a new component using RAFC. That's so good. So now you are familiar with the basics of Redux. You know that we need some actions, a reducer, and using that reducer inside of our store will access helps us to access everything. So let's go to Redux, create a new folder this time. So we have counter and username. You can see that they are all separate. That's so good. So let's say posts, and for these posts, I say posts actions.js, and also posts reducer.js. That is it. So this time, let me show you that what we need in this time inside of post reducer. Let's copy the comments from here. Okay. Okay, we need to have an initial state value and then we need to have the reducer. Okay, this time for initial state, I want to have multiple states here. Why? Because we may have some errors, we may have some loading times, and then we may have our posts. So let's create all of them. The first thing is loading. This it is false. Then we have our posts, and in initial it is an empty array, and then is error is false. So let's format document, or we can use for this is error. You can use, for example, let's say an empty string for your error. You can use anything you want. I use this because I have a value of boolean, and I want to show you that this is a better example because we have boolean, a string, and array, and this is much more better. So this time we are working to something like this. So we need to have a logic to check the loading, a logic to check the posts, and a logic to work with errors. This is what we want to work. So let's create our actions first. And let's copy the, let me show you here. I copy the comments from here. So to posts actions, delete this. Oops. Okay. So actions, so for the actions, let's create some actions, export const. What we need to do, the first thing is we need to work with the is loading. So for is loading, we create a new action. Let's say that, for example, get posts underline request. This is one of them. Then after we are sending this request, it may be successful or it may be a failure. So let's create another one, and let's say that get posts can be a success. That is the success, and let's copy them. That is failure. So these are the three actions we need to manage. You can see that in fact it is too easy. So the first thing is this action names. So we created our action names, and in actions you know that we return an object with type and payload, and also when we are using Redux Thunk, we can return a function. This is the beauty of Redux Thunk, and you can see that soon. So the first thing is let's create our ordinary action creators. These are the action creators functions. So the first thing is we say that we have three different actions. So the first thing is when we start our request. So let's create them. Export const of a function which can be, for example, get users request, or it is not. In fact, I'm not happy with this name. Let's change it. This is not good. So get posts request sent. This is, in my opinion, this is really better. So get post request sent is really more readable. And he said that export const of get user request sent. This is one of my actions. Do we have any payload for this? No, we don't have. So we can simply create a new action object, and here we say that your type is get posts request sent. So this is the first one. You can say it is really simple, and we return this action object, and we return a new object with type of get post request sent, and this will be dispatched. Okay, the next thing is when we have a successful response. So let's create it. Export const of get. Oops, why are using users? This is posts, in fact. Get posts request sent. Get posts success Okay, when we are calling this, we can simply pass them users as our payload. So let's grab the users here and let's say that const. Let's copy from here. It is much more quicker. Okay, const this time we say const action object is your type is success, and you have a payload. Payload. Your payload is your users. Okay, let's format document and we return this object. And also we can have a failure. So let's create a new one for it. So we say get post failure is an arrow function and we export it. So if you are failing, because we said that this can be a string, we can receive the error message and we pass it. So let's copy them quickly and we say that in this get post failure we have an action object. Your type is this failure, that's it, and your payload is the error message. Okay, and we return this action object. Let's format document. Now you can see that we created 3 ordinary objects that are being dispatched. So these are our action creators and they return an object and they are working correctly and we don't have any errors. But because we are using Redux Thunk, we can return also a function in our action creator. This is the beauty of Redux Thunk. So we can create a new one. Let's create a new action creator. So this is a new action creator that works only with Redux Thunk Middleware. Okay, this is a new action creator that works only with Redux Thunk Middleware. This is it. We create a new, let's create it. So export const of a new function. For example, get, you can use any name. For example, get users async or any name you want. And this is an arrow function. And inside of this arrow function, inside of this function, we return another function. That's it. I'm speaking about this because this can be a little confusing, but when you do this 3 times, you can see that it is really so easy. So we can simply return a function. So we return a new arrow function. This arrow function receives the dispatch and get a state, but we are not working with the state. So let me show you here. Okay, it says that this it allows writing function with logic inside that can interact with Redux Store's dispatch and get state. But I'm not focusing on get state here because we just simply dispatch. So we can say that this function receives a dispatch and it can dispatch everything we want. So this is the beauty of it. Inside of this function, we can dispatch the others. Okay, so let's do our logic. So this is my business logic. First, we need to set our loading to true. Okay. So we can simply dispatch. Dispatch what? Dispatch. This is the beauty of it. We can simply dispatch this get post request sent. Okay. So we can simply dispatch this get post request sent, and this is it. So inside of this function, we dispatch that. Then we send our request. So we use Axios. Okay, Axios must be imported automatically. Yes, that's so good. So let's send a request. I assume you're familiar with Axios. So we need to send a request. What is the URL? Okay, URL is this post. Let's paste it here. So axios.get, and you know that when we are working with this Axios is an async function, so it returns promise and it can be resolved or rejected. So we use .then for when it is resolved and .catch for when it is catched. So inside of .then we can simply say that received. I assume you are familiar with all of this because this is a simple calling an API which asks you. So we can get a response and you will say that const my post is the response.data, and because now I have this data, I can dispatch get post success and pass the users. Oh, why am I using this is posts. Okay, now I can pass the post to get post success. So let's dispatch it. Okay, dispatch get post success and pass these posts to dispatch. And this is it. And then if we have any errors here, we can simply say that const error message, because you know that inside of this catch we need to receive the error, and we say that const error message equals to error dot message, and then we can again dispatch. We want to dispatch get post failure and pass this string to it. So get post failure must be dispatched get post failure with the error message. Let's format our document and see. Okay, this is all of it, and you can see that this is the complicated part, but you saw that this is a new action creator that works only with Redux Thunk middleware, and inside of this function we simply return another function. This function can receive dispatch. Let me show you again here. It can receive dispatch, and we can also have the get state. Let me show you if we have any sample here or not. Okay, you can see that here we can say dispatch and get a state and anything we want, and then we can dispatch everything we want and work with our asynchronous methods. You can see that I use axios.get, and in the success I dispatch something, and in failure I dispatch something else. That's it. So now it's time to work on our reducer. So let's go here and create our reducer. I say that const of posts reducer equals to an arrow function that has a state and an action, and export default post reducers. That's good, and that's it. And for the state, your initial state would be your default values. So we have a state and action like the others. First, let's say that we want to destructure something from my action. We have a type and a payload. Okay, format. That's so good. So now we have the type and payload, and based on this payload and type, based on our type, we can switch. You saw in our previous example. So we are switching on our type, and for different cases we do something based on it. So let's import our action names from /. Okay, what do we have? Sent and success and failure. Okay, for my document. So the first thing is get post request sent. So in this case we simply return a new object, but we saw that, let me show you here, it is better to spread all our state in order to avoid any mistakes. So let's go to the posts reducer. So the first thing is we spread our state. That's so good. And when I'm sending my request, I simply want to change my is loading to true to see that it is loading. So I say that is loading is true. That's it. Okay, and if you're asking what happened, let me show you again. You can use format document, and you can use also Shift Alt F. You're on Windows, so I press Alt Shift F. It will be formatted quickly. That's so good. So if we are dispatching get post request sent, we return all of our state and we change is loading to true. Let's go to the next case, and before forgetting, let's go to the default. And in default, we return current state. That's good. So let's go here and let's go another case. The next case is when we are receiving our data and it is successful. We need to return first. Let's make sure to return all of our state. Then we change what we want. So is loading must be false. That's good. And our post is receiving from our payload. So I say that my post would be the payload that we destructured here. That's so good. And also for this error, if we need to change it, if we have any error to an empty string again, let's format document. That's good. This is the next one. And also let's create a failure case. So in case of get post failure, what we need to do, of course, we need to return a new object first, destructure our state in order to avoid any mistakes. We again need to change our loading to false. Is loading must be false because we are not loading anything and we have error. Let's change our users. Sorry, why I'm using users? I'm using users a lot of times. So post another empty string, and this time for this error we are receiving the message, so we change this error as our payload. Okay, format document. That's so good. I think it is it, and we will test it. So the first thing is get post request sent. We simply return all of our state and we change is loading to true. The next case is get post success, and we return state is loading, posts, and error. When get post is failure, we return all of them. Is loading must be false, post must be an empty string, and error must be the payload. And that's it. So we are exporting default this post reducer. Now it is time to work on our store. You can see that I have a root reducer and I'm combining my reducers here. So let's add another one for my posts state equals to, let's import, post reducer. It is not recognized automatically. Why? So const post reducer, export default of post reducers. Okay. So import post reducers from ./post/post reducer. And this post state must be post reducer, and that's it. Let's format our document. Now everything is true and everything is correct. We just in root reducer added our new state, which is post state, and it is coming from post reducer. Now let's go to the username posts counter posts here. Here we need to add it. First, let's go to the app.jsx and comment this counter and HR and username. I don't want to see them right now. I just want to see my post. It is not importing automatically right now. So let's import posts from /component/posts. Export default posts. That's okay. So this is it. And let's check. Refresh. Do we have any error? No, we don't have. Let's check our Redux DevTools. Now you can see that I have my previous states here, counter state, okay, user state, okay, and post state. I have it. I have the is loading of false, posts of empty, and error of empty string. That's so good. You can see this is one of the beauteous things in Redux DevTools, you can see that my state has different things like counter state and username state and post state, and each of them has their leaves. For example, in counter state we have count, in username state we have username, and in post state we have is loading and posts and error. That's really so good. So let's work on our posts. Let's close everything and let's go to the components, posts, and here. So I import something from React Redux. Again, I want to use selector and use dispatch from here, and that's it. So let's create const dispatch equals to use dispatch and const post. This time you know that we can use selector and we'll receive the state. And let me copy from here to show you that inside of state we have post state. Okay, post state. So instead of posts, let's receive post state and let's log post state. Okay, this must be a state dot post state. Let's go to the console, refresh. Okay, you can see that error empty is loading false and post is an empty array. So let's delete this console, and this time I want to show the post here. So how we can do this? Let's create an h1. It says posts, and how we can show the post and dispatch our post? We can use a button or we can use effect. I simply want to show you because it is a better idea to use button. So get posts from server. This is it. So posts, get posts from server, and const get posts from server is a function. So I can say on your click, you can call get posts from server. That's so good. And we say that because we want to change, because we want to check with JavaScript, we can say that open curly braces, and we say that if posts state dot, let me show you here inside of post state we have three different. So we have is loading, and if we have is loading, let me use this syntax, this is much more better. If it is loading, we use h1 loading. That's it. And after this, we can say that post state dot, let's copy from here again. If we have any error, in this post state, we can show the error. Let's copy this again. Okay, and if post state that is loading is false, and false of post state dot error, and we can say that your post state dot posts dot map receive some post, and for each one return a div. Inside of it we can say, let me show you what posts do we have. For example, we can have a title post dot title. Okay, let's format document. That's good. So we can say that if we have loading, we show the loading. If we have error, we show the error. Else, if there is not loading and there is not an error, we can show the post here. There are a lot of ways you can show them, and this is simply just for the demonstration of the Redux working. So this is it. And when we are clicking on this button, we say that get post from server. So here we need to dispatch, and we dispatch what we want to dispatch. Let me show you in actions. We need to dispatch this action, and it will handle all of everything we want inside of it. So we need to import get users async from actions. So let's import it from /redux post/actions. So what we can use get users async. So we simply say get users async. That's it. So when we are clicking on this button get post from server, it will be dispatched. Let's check to see if we have any error or problem or not. Let's refresh. Okay, we have error, and it says that so undefined map. Cannot undefined. Okay, this is the problem. And let's check what we have. So here it says that post.state.post.map. Okay, what's the problem? Let's go to the reducer. Oh, this is the capital P was the problem. Let's format our document. Let's refresh. Okay, now we don't have any error. That's so good. We are using Logger. Okay, so let's press get post from server. Okay, you can see that something is showing, but we have error which key prop. Okay, no problem. Let me have a little here. Okay, we say that your key is post.id, and that's it. So here we can say that inside of this division we can use an h3 with post.title, and also we can have h5 of post.body or h6. And also for any division, let's have a simple style to be beautiful. So we say that your border is 1 pix solid of this blue 0000 ff, and your border radius is 16 pixel. That's it. Let's check the result, refresh. Okay, we don't have anything, so let's get post from server. You saw the loading. Okay, loading, you can see the loading. That's so good, and everything is showing. And if I refresh and show you here, okay, you can see that we have these 3 actions. The first one is this dispatch. Let's say that this is get post request sent. This is the initialization, and in this get post request sent, we send this action with type of get post request sent. That's so good. Before this, we had the is loading of false. After this, we have the is loading of true. That's so good. And then we dispatch get post success. And when we are dispatching, you can see that my type is get post success and my payload is an array with 100 items. And you can see after this, we have all of them inside of my post state. And if you're asking what is happening, this is coming from this action here. So when we call this get user async, this will return a new function with dispatch, and it will dispatch the get post request sent. Get post request sent is dispatched in 14, 5, and 6. And then it will call axios.get, and it will check that if you have any error or any success, it will dispatch the relevant action creators. So if it is successful, it dispatches get post successful with posts. Else, if we have any error, it dispatches the get post failure with error message. And you can see them. Let's check the error. For example, if I check this to post dd, no, it is wrong. This must be failed. So let's refresh and call. Okay, you saw that loading and request failed. Loading request failed. That's so good. Let's call again. Okay, so you can see that after get post request sent, we have get post failure. And what is my action? I have a type of get post failure and payload of request failed with status code of 404, and that's it. So let's correct our URL and send request again. So get post from server, you can see it is working correctly, and all of our async functionalities are working, and all of our side effects are being handled. So I think this is good for this section, and let's have a quick review. So in these sections, we added Redux Thunk. And in Redux Thunk, let me show you, we installed this Redux Thunk package here. And inside of Store, we said that in apply middleware, I also want to use Redux Thunk. We created posts, actions, and reducer. And inside of action, we have three normal action creators that creates some objects and return it. But also we have another one, which is a special action creator, which returns a function instead of objects, and it will receive the dispatch, and we can dispatch everything we want using asynchronous logic. That's it. And the reducer is normal, nothing so complicated. You can see that we have is loading, posts, and errors, and we return it. Then inside of store, we use inside of our root reducer, and that's it. So let's check again. Also, let's check the Redux DevTools. When I calling, you can see that no, I just have initialization, and if I get posts, okay, you can see that I have two different dispatches here: get post request sent and get post request. And also here you can see the state. Let me show you. So in initialization, we don't have anything. Everything is default, and is loading is false, post empty, error empty. When I calling get post request send, you can see that is loading will change to true, and when get post is success, again is loading would be false, and the post would be our post. That's it, and I think for this part it is good, and I hope it helps you. So after working with Redux Thunk, it is time to see the Redux Saga. And let me show you in package.json in this project 2 Redux Thunk, we install Redux Thunk, and inside of these actions here, we use an async function and handle the asynchronous functionality of our program. And using Redux Thunk, we can return a function and receive the dispatch inside of this function and work with it and dispatch everything we want. But in great projects, Redux Saga might be a better tool, and in a lot of interviews for the front-end developers, I saw that they're asking about Redux Thunk and Redux Saga, and it is really important to see what is the Redux Saga. So let's go to the browser and type Redux Saga. So Redux Saga is, it is a beautiful. Let's copy all of them. Oh no, we can copy them next. So Redux Saga is an intuitive Redux side effect manager. And it is easy to manage, easy to test, and executes efficiently. It is really so easy to work with. It can be a little challenging if you have not familiarity with this Redux Saga and generator functions, but it is really so easy. It uses generator functions, and it maybe seems complicated, but in fact it's too easy. So let's see. It says that there are an example usage is here. This you can dispatch an action. This, you can see that we are dispatching a really simple action. For example, user fetch requested and with a payload of user ID. And then we initialize a side effect. So what is the side effect? The side effects are coming from Redux Saga effect, and we can get everything we want. For example, call, put, take every, take latest, and then we create a new worker saga, and then this new worker saga will be handled in our project, and it would, this function is a generator function. This is why we are using stars, and this generator functions lets us to use this yield. This is something like await, but I will show you that what is the difference. So we are using this yield, and when you are using call, we are using, for example, you saw that here we use this axios.get. This is an asynchronous call. So instead of using this axios.get.then.catch, we can simply use yield call of that request, and then using this yield we can send this to our actions, and we create a new dispatch here using put. It may be a little complicated, but it is really so easy when we are using this. So after this, we need to use a new voucher of yield take every, and we say that when we are calling user fetch requested, you need to handle this fetch user, and that's it. And then we connect it to the stores, and we use create Saga middleware from Saga Redux Saga, and also we import that Saga voucher. Then we say const Saga middleware is create Saga middleware, and also we say Saga middleware that run this my Saga, and then this is for the Redux toolkit. This is a new version. Okay, that's it. So let's go to the Redux Saga. Let's go to its GitHub, and you can see that everything is here, and you can always go here into its official documentation of GitHub and use it. So let's do this. Before this, let's show you that. Let's close this. Okay, I created a project one of Redux Basic, and then we created Redux Thunk from that Redux Basic. Now I want to work with Redux Saga. So I copy the second project because the basic structure is ready, and I just want to replace the Saga middleware with Thunk middleware. And this is a better idea to show you with the change of it with Thunk, and you can simply see it here. So let's copy project 2, and that's it. Let's rename it to Redux Saga and change this to project 3. That's it. Let's open this Saga with VS Code. Now I have a different project, and then I will show you that. Okay, this is it. So if I check package.json, you can see that I have installed Redux DevTools extension. I have Axios, I have React Redux, Redux Logger, Redux Thunk, and a lot of them. So let's open a new terminal and go here, copy this. So npm install Redux Saga. This will be installed here. Let's go to the documentation. Okay. So we need to have a fetch user, and here we need to have an API.fetchUser method. We create it. Then we need to have a mySaga or a root saga or anything name you want. There is no matter. And then we can create a middleware and run mySaga. That's it. So let's check. Okay, it's installed. Let's say npm start to start my project. That's it. So now we have Redux Saga version 1, 2, 3. When I'm recording this video, it is version 1, 2, 3. That's it. So let's go and see what is the structure we have. We had the posts, and we don't want to change any structure from here right now. We just go to the Redux section. Let's go to the posts, and let's go to the post action. So we have get post request sent. That's okay. And we have success and failure. They all are working correctly. But we had this was for our Redux Thunk, and we don't need to use this anymore. So we can delete it. Okay, and delete. This is it. So we have get post failure, okay, get post success, okay, and get post request sent. That's okay. This time we need to have another dispatch because with Saga we use ordinary dispatches. That's good. So let's create another one. Export const. What is the new action? Get post async or any name you want. So I can simply say that this is get post async and I create a new action creator for it. So let's say that export const get post async equals to an arrow function, and this arrow function will, let's copy quickly from here. Okay, we say that action object is, what is the type? Get post async. That's good, and we return this. So let's format document. You can see that this is really normal, and we created a simple action creator, and we return an object with type of get post async. And this get post async is not going to be used inside of our reducer, so we don't change our reducer for now. And this is the previous example reducer: get post request sent, get post success, and get post failure. So we don't change anything inside of our reducer. We just added a new get post async action creator. So this is it. The next thing is we need to have Saga functionality and we need to configure them. So inside of Redux, let's create a Sagas or Sagas folder. I create Sagas folder. Inside of it, let me show you here inside of the documentation. Everything is shown here, but it is better to have them split into different files and folders. So inside of Sagas, I create two different folders. The first one is for my API calls. I call my APIs inside of this folder, and we need to handle them. So handlers, I create a handlers folder inside of my Saga, and also let's have a root saga.js, and this root saga is going to handle this. That's so good. So let's go to the handler and API calls. The first thing is we need to create an API call for our, let me show you here. Go to the previews Redux, where what is posts and in post actions. So here we had this. So let's copy this and go to the API calls, create a new file, for example, user, sorry, I'm always using users, I don't know why. So posts.js, and inside of this, let's have this as a comment for now. And here is where we need to handle our asynchronous call. Let me show you. Where is it? This is it. This is where we need to call our API. If, for example, API.fetch user, we need to implement it. I'm implementing inside of this folder to be more readable. So inside of API call, let's create a function for calling this. So export function, or you can use anything you want. For example, this ordinary export a function, or you can use arrow function. For example, const request or get users async, or any name you want, or for example get user async call, any name you want. This is an arrow function and it simply returns an Axios. It will be imported. No, I want to import Axios first. So import Axios, that's good. So we need to return Axios.get using this. So let's say that const post URL equals to this. So this is my URL, and Axios.get post URL. So this is just a simple function that will be used as this API.fetchUser. Okay, this is it. So get users async call, and then we need to handle this. So let's go to the handlers and also here create a new users dot, and here we need to handle them. So let me show you again here. This is where we need to handle our functionality. For example, this is a fetch user, but we want to fetch our posts. So we need to use a try catch, and we can use yield. So we need to import these, for example, call and put, we need them. So let's do this. The first thing is we need to have a function. So let's say that const handle get posts request equals to an arrow function, but it is better to use its, you can say it is using this simple function, so I can use it. So we can use as function, and this is the part that it can be a little hard, but just stick to it and I will show you. This is a function star, and when we are using function star, it means that we are using generator functions. Let's export it. So we are using a function with an star. It is a generator function. So this is a handle get post request, and it also can receive the action. In action we can have payload and we can have type, and that's it. So this is it, and we need to use a try catch, and inside of this try we can say that const, because this is async await, because we are using try catch, we can use this response. So const response, this is the part that we are using. Const response equals to yield of call. So we need to call, this call is coming from here, and it call is coming from Redux Saga effect. Also we need to use put, so let's import them here. So we need to import something from Redux Saga slash effects. What we need to import? The first thing is we need to call, and also we need to use the put, and anything else we want we can import them here. So we say that yield call. What we need to call? We need to call this get users async call. So let's import it. Import something from dot slash API calls posts. What do we have here to use? We have okay, we need to export it. Okay, no, let's go to the handler. No, we must have access. Yes, get users async call, and we call this get users async call. That's it. You can use any name you want if you think this is confusing, but that's it. And you know that inside of this response, because this is an Axios response, we can have a data. So we can destructure it, and we say that we have this data. This data is yield call. So this will be called, and then we can, let's have some comments here. Okay, first we call our API here, and then in success, if success, we can call our actions. In fact, we dispatch them here. So how we can dispatch them here? It is really so simple. We can use yield of put, and this will dispatch them. For example, what you want to dispatch, let's go to the username actions, sorry, to post actions. Where is it? Here. So we want to say that get post success. So we need to dispatch get post success. So let's go to the handler here. This is the part that we need to, first we need to import them from dot slash post actions. So what actions do we need to work with? Of course we need to work with get post request success. This is what we want to use here. Also, let's handle the failures, get post failure, and what was the next? Get post request sent, because we can have different dispatches. So here we can simply say that yield output get post success, and as our payload we can pass the data to it, and that's it. And also, because we can handle our loading, let's, before this start, first we set loading to true, and then call our API. So first, let's do a dispatch. I say yield put, and what is the dispatch you want to do? You want to send this get post request send to change our loading to true. Then we say const data is yield call. Then we say yield pull of get post success. That's it. And in case of any error, we can simply console log error, or we can yield, let's say that yeah, if you have error, so you have const of error message. You can see it is really so like the Redux Thunk. So we can say that error dot message in case of any error, and again we can yield a put, but we need to dispatch get post failure. So get post failure, and we send this error message to it, and this is the handler. Okay, so I know this may be a little confusing for the first time. This is handler, but I'm exactly implementing the functionality of what we had in Redux Thunk, and I intentionally first talked about Redux Thunk, so you can see that it is exactly like it. We are using yield of put, but there we are using async await, or in our sample we use .then.catch, and this is exactly like it. So this is our handler, and then we need to go to the root saga here, and we need to handle it. So here we need to, let me show you inside of here. We want to implement this functionality. It is again a generator function, and we say that on take every, when you are calling this, you need to handle it with this. That's so good. So here let's export a function generator. This, you can see that it is a function style. It is generator function. Generator function. And let's have a name. For example, let's say that I have a watcher saga, or any name you want. And here, let's copy from this. So I'm showing you that I'm using the codes, and you always need to use the codes of your document. So inside of this yield, you need to use take every. So let's import take every from Redux Saga effects. And also we need to use the action name and the handler. So let's import them. The first thing is import something from /post actions. What action we need to listen to it? We need to use get post async. That's it. So when we are using this, we can say that take every of get post async. And what is the handler? Let's import my handler, import something from /, okay, in handler users. So what do we have? Handle get post request. So let's pass this, and that's it. So we implemented this. This is my saga or watcher saga. So I say that yield take every of get post async and handle get post request. This is it. So the next part is we need to implement everything inside of our store. So let's go here, and let me show you here. We need to import create saga middleware. Let's import it. So I don't need to use this time, so I comment it. I need to import create saga middleware from Redux Saga. Then it says that import reducers and my Saga. Okay, I need to import my Saga, which is this. I created this root Saga, so import something from dot slash sagas root Saga. And this is the watcher Saga. This is the name of it. And the next thing is it says that you can use this middleware. So const Saga middleware is create Saga middleware, and then inside of the store you need to use Saga middleware inside of apply middleware. That's good. So let's copy. This is the Saga middleware, and inside of middlewares I need to use it. So I delete this Thunk because I don't want to use Redux Thunk anymore, and I say that this is the Saga middleware. So now I have access to Saga middleware. Then it says that run the Saga. Let's copy with this comment. So it says that Saga middleware.run my Saga, but I'm using watcher Saga, not my Saga. I want it to be different with the document. Okay, so I have this Saga middleware.run. Now I think it must work, but let's check. Close everything and check. So let's go to the Redux post actions. This time I have a new dispatch. It is get posts async. This post async is returning an object. Okay, in this object I have type of get post async. This will be go into the reducer. So I have get post request sent, get post success, get post failure. I don't have anything here, so it will be ignored inside of post reducer. But let me show you inside of Saga. In this Saga, I said that if you get post, you saw get post async, you go and handle get post request will be handled for handling this request. So it will be handled. Let's go to this, and here I created a handler, and it is a generator function. We receive action. We can work with this action type or payload if you want. And here, first we call, let's say, a dispatch using this. This yield put will dispatch anything we want. For example, get post request sent. This get post request sent will go to my posts. Let's go to the post reducer here. It will change the is loading to true, and then we will call get users async call, which is axuse.get of this post, this URL of posts. Then we change this export of it to this data, the structure it. Then we call get post success with this data, and this yield put we said that this is a dispatch. And in case of any error, we grab the error message and we dispatch get post failure with error message. This is the difference between Redux Thunk and Redux Saga. And everything will be handled inside of Sagas, and this is Saga pattern, and it will help us a lot. So let's check and let's see that. Okay, let's go here, refresh. Okay, we have error. It says that export get users async, imported as get users async, was not found in post actions. So we don't have any export for it. Let's go to the posts, Redux post actions, and we have export const of get posts async. But okay, this is from posts.jsx. Let's go here to, because we have this here, let's go to the components, posts.jsx. Okay, so this time, yes, this is changed. Inside of it, we need to say get posts async, and when we are clicking get post from server, we call this. Let's format document and refresh. We don't have any error. No, good. Console get posts. Okay, you see that it is working completely. It seems that we don't have any error. Let's refresh. Let's check the Redux DevTools. We have counter state, username. Okay, you can see that nothing is changed inside this state. And if I go to console, console is clear. So let's say get post from server. You saw the loading, and then it says that, okay, we call get post async, then we call get post request sent, then we call get post success. You can see that it is exactly the same order we added. And now we have everything here. That's so good. Let's go to the console, refresh, and get post on server. Okay, you can see that I have three actions: get post async, which has an action of type of get post async. That's good. The next thing is get post request sent with the action of type of get post request sent, and you can see that it says that Redux Saga action true. It will added by Saga. It says that this has a Saga watcher. That's so good. And also here we had this Redux Saga action. That's good. It says that it is coming from watcher. So good. So this for get post success we have the payload and type of get post success. This is coming from, let's go to the Saga handler here, and this is the handler. It is handling everything. So when we calling the, let me show you in Saga, when we calling get post async, this handler will be called and it will handle everything. First, it will says that yield put of get post request sent. It is here. Then if it is successful, it says yield put of get post successful. Get post successful. That's so good, and we are passing the data to it. So you saw that this was in fact too easy. For the first time it can be a little confusing. I know that I have I had the similar experience, but if you use a good folder structuring, it can be so easy. So you create your API calls in different places and handlers to different places, and in your Saga you can create some different vouchers and yield of take every. And let me show you. We have a lot of take every, take latest, take leading maybe, and a lot of them. So I'm not going to open all of them. This can be a little long lasting topic. So inside of this watcher Saga we can say that you can check any action, and for any action you can run a handler you want to handle the side effects. So you can see that it is working completely true. Let's check it again. Okay, loading is working and data is working. Also let's check, and if you have any error, for example for API call, if I change this, refresh, loading, request failed with SS code of 404. That's so good. You can see that. Also the, let me show you here, the get post failure will be called if you have any error. You can see that I intentionally create an error here and it is working correctly. That's so good. So this was the last section of this video. I hope this video helps you a lot, and let me know if there is any opinion or any comment. And if you think this is useful for you, please give a star to its GitHub repository and like this video, make some comments for me, and also subscribe to my channel. Have a good day and goodbye.